Newscast tonight. A team of inspectors from South Korea crosses the border to check out the venues in North Korea, including a performance hall and a ski resort where inter-Korean joint events will be held ahead of the PyeongChang Winter Olympics. During a meeting with the ruling party over lunch at the top office, President Moon Jae-in calls for greater cooperation and support in key legislative tasks, including revising the Constitution. In tune with his protectionist policies, President Trump approved safeguard measures on imports of washing machines and solar cells, potentially dealing a blow to South Korean manufacturers. News Center begins now. It's 8 p.m. here in Korea, live from our studio in Seoul. This is Arirang News Center. Welcome to our program. I'm Daniel Che. Once again, we begin with the ongoing visits by delegations from both sides as the two Koreas step up preparations for special joint events and the Winter Olympics. Seoul's representatives crossed the border this time to inspect the venues for cultural and sporting events. Kwon Jang-ho has our top story.
The 12-member South Korean inspection team arrived at the Donghae Highway Transit Office, the last stop on the eastern side of the peninsula, before heading north of the border for a 3-day visit.
Upon the agreement of the two Koreas, we will thoroughly carry out our inspections so that all the events taking place at Mount Kumgang and the Mashik-ryong ski resort go without a hitch.
With that, they headed through to customs and towards the border to be the first South Korean officials to step foot on North Korean soil in almost 2 years. Beyond these gates is the military demarcation line where the delegation crossed into North Korea. And just about a half-an-hour car ride from here is the Mount Kumgang tourist area where they begin their inspections. At Mount Kumgang, about 20 kilometers from the border, they will inspect a performance hall where a joint cultural performance is set to take place. Mount Kumgang has special significance for the two Koreas as it used to be a joint resort area as well as a location where separated family reunions took place. Next, they will travel further north to the multi-million-dollar Mashik-ryong ski resort built under the orders of the leader Kim Jong-un. It's where joint training sessions between the two Koreas will take place before PyeongChang 2018, but controversially, those training sessions are unlikely to involve any South Korean Olympic athletes, which has led some to criticize their purpose. The inspection team will also stop by at the Kalma airport nearby, a military airfield that the South Korean ski trainees will likely use to reach the ski resort. This visit is the second of 3 back-to-back inspection visits between the two Koreas in 1 week. The first concluded Monday, where North Korean officials came south to look at venues for its arts troupe to perform in Seoul and Gangneung during the Olympic period. On Thursday, the day the South Korean delegation returns home, another North Korean inspection team will follow them south via a different route, this time to view sporting facilities and accommodation for the North's Olympic athletes. This series of inspection team visits has outlined the urgency and scale of the inter-Korean exchanges that are set to take place during next month's Olympics. Kwon Jang-ho, Arirang News, Gojong.
17 days to go before the 2018 PyeongChang Winter Olympics kickoff, the organizing committee, while busy putting the final touches, gave a small taste of what the opening and closing ceremonies would look like. Here's a sneak peek from the Alpine City, courtesy of our EG1.
The concepts have been revealed for the opening and closing ceremonies of the 2018 PyeongChang Winter Olympics. They are harmony and convergence. On Monday, the organizing committee and the directors of the ceremonies held a press briefing to share some of the details and the preparations they're making.
From the harmony of tradition and modern-day culture to that of nature and modern buildings, harmony is a basic Korean value. Through Convergence, Korea has been able to spread its culture worldwide and become a leading IT nation. With performances that illustrate these two values, we hope to convey the messages of peace and passion.
They also unveiled the Olympic cauldron for the ceremonies. The cauldron resembles a moon jar, a type of traditional Korean white porcelain representing Korean notions of beauty through empty space and simplicity, as well as conveying the message of participation and harmony. While the specific layout of the ceremonies could not be shared, they did reveal the basic storylines of the events. The opening ceremony is based on the journey of 5 children searching for answers to peace and features Korean legends and history. The closing ceremony focuses on the challenges ahead with musical and dance performances. To the question of whether North Korean art troops will perform in the opening ceremony, Director Song said that while it hasn't been confirmed, the International Olympic Committee has mentioned an appearance by Pyongyang's taekwondo performers before the opening ceremony begins. It's expected to be extremely cold on the days of the ceremonies, so the committee also explained its plans to deal with that. On top of constructing a windscreen around the Olympic Stadium, they have also built 40 patio heaters and 18 windproof shelters around the venue to prevent hypothermia. The committee will be providing visitors with winter gear, including hot packs, blankets, and raincoats, but said it's vital that spectators dress warmly and come prepared. In preparation for more than 20,000 spectators expected to come to the opening ceremony, the committee has also prepared a range of transportation services, one of which is the PyeongChang mobile application. The application launches on Wednesday and will display all the different ways of getting to the venues and help out with reservations. With just over 2 weeks left until the games kick off, the organizing committee said it'll do its best to warmly welcome the world and make PyeongChang 2018 an unforgettable experience. 이지원, Arirang News, PyeongChang.
Meanwhile, the presidential office once again called for collective support to ensure a successful and peaceful PyeongChang Winter Games. The statement comes amid growing public criticism, including from the opposition parties, who label the event the Pyongyang Olympics in protest of North Korea's participation in forming a unified women's ice hockey team. The Cheong Wa Dae highlighted the need to transcend all differences and discrimination in the process of hosting the global event. A spokesperson for the top office also brought to the political circle's attention the special act on the PyeongChang Olympics agreed upon by the ruling and opposition blocs back in 2011. It states central and local governments must make every effort to promote reconciliation and peace on the peninsula through the Games. A couple of weeks ago, the two Koreas agreed in principle to hold military talks ahead of the Olympics. But now it seems that may not happen. Asked whether there's a plan for a military dialogue or if it's already been scheduled, Seoul's defense ministry said Tuesday there's been no concrete progress and that it's still waiting for a reply from Pyongyang to an earlier proposal made last July. Military talks have been deemed crucial to lowering tensions in the region and to allow North Korean delegates to come to the south by crossing over the land border. And it's now confirmed that Pyongyang is preparing to hold a major military parade on the eve of the Winter Olympics. Setting February 8th as the official founding day, the regime's armed forces will put on display for the world to see its most advanced weapons. Park Hee-jun delves deeper into the implications of the decision that severely dampens the newly established reconciliatory mood.
A grand display of all its missiles and artillery. That's what's expected of North Korea on February 8th. The North state-run news agency KCNA reported Tuesday that the regime has designated February 8th as the official founding day of its military forces. The anniversary was originally celebrated on February 8th, but in 1978, Kim Il-sung moved it to April 25th, the day anti-Japanese forces were established. Now it has been moved back.
The modern military was formed on February 8, 1948. Kim Jong-un is choosing to mark the founding day to that date to focus on the fact that North Korea is a full-fledged nuclear state that has strong military power.
Experts say that the parade is highly likely to show off North Korea's nuclear weapons. It will be a way for leader Kim Jong-un to make a statement to the international community that despite its diplomatic peace gestures, the North's military and nuclear capabilities remain strong. If the celebrations do take place on February 8th, they would fall on the eve of the 2018 PyeongChang Winter Olympics. Although the North may not have designated the date directly because of the Olympics, it is likely that it wanted to take advantage of the global event as a means to display more power.
Although the designation was mainly due to internal reasons, North Korea would have considered the Olympics as a way to add more meaning to the founding day and receive more attention when it boasts its nuclear power.
North Korea's appearance at the Olympics had shown to be a sign of improving relations. But although the anniversary celebrations could dent that current thaw in inter-Korean ties, it is likely that Kim Jong-un will push forward with the parade. Park Hee-jun, Arirang News.
President Moon Jae-in invited the leadership of the ruling Democratic Party to the top office this afternoon to provide encouragement and hold talks ahead of the upcoming parliamentary session in February. Hwang Ho-jun has the highlights from that luncheon.
President Moon called for the Blue House, the government, and the ruling party to come together as a harmonious whole ahead of major events that Korea will be facing as a nation.
President Moon said there is a need to get behind the ruling party ahead of big tasks such as the PyeongChang Olympics, February's parliamentary session, and the constitutional revision. He asked us to respect public sentiment and cooperate in light of these historic tasks.
The president's comments came during a luncheon hosted by the Blue House and attended by 17 representatives of the ruling Democratic Party, including its floor leader Woo Won-sik. President Moon said he acknowledges the hard work of the ruling party's leadership in running the National Assembly, especially when the opposition parties are in the majority and having very different policies. The Democratic Party's floor leader Woo Won-sik in return said he was glad the party was able to help the administration by working with the opposition to get some of its key agendas through, such as official confirmation hearings, government restructuring, and passing key spending bills like the budget for this year. By doing so, he said they were following the voice of the people who put the president in office. The party's floor leader also pledged to press on speedily in Parliament next month to pass pending bills to improve people's livelihoods. He also suggested the president arrange a meeting with the floor leaders of the political parties and presidential office officials. That, he said, would hopefully promote cooperation ahead of the parliamentary session, especially necessary considering the change in command in the main opposition Liberty Korea Party and the minor opposition Padin Party. President Moon instructed his secretaries to look into arranging that. The biggest agenda for the upcoming parliamentary session is expected to be the revising of the 30-year-old constitution. The ruling party hopes to reach a cross-party agreement on a final version in February and hold a public referendum during the local elections in June. Hwang Ho-jun, Arirang News.
Highest suicide rate among OECD member nations, Korea has maintained that status for well over a decade now. The government announced a new set of measures to try and reduce the number of the tragic incidents. Park Ji-won outlines for us what they are.
On average, 36 people per day commit suicide in Korea. That's over 13,000 suicides a year, 25.6 suicides for every 100,000 people in this country. This figure is 2.5 times higher than the traffic accident death rate. And Korea has had the highest suicide rate in the OECD since 2003. Against this backdrop, the government aims to lower the suicide rate from 25.6 per 100,000 people in 2017 to 17 per 100,000 by 2022, hoping to prevent some 15,000 people from committing suicide over the next 5 years. To reach this goal, the government has set up a comprehensive set of measures which require participation from the related government ministries, including the health and welfare, education, and culture ministries. The government will first complete an extensive study on every one of the 70,000 people who committed suicide from 2012 to 2016, and based on the findings, it aims to establish a national surveillance system on suicide trend to analyze patterns and statistics. Next, the government will try to build strong local networks to prevent suicides by educating around 1 million officials and local medical and social workers so they can immediately respond to those thinking of taking their own life. Depression tests will also be strengthened and be issued more frequently during national medical checkups. The government will also almost double the number of counselors at mental welfare institutions and set up a mental health information system through which the government can actively take necessary actions toward those groups that are most at risk of committing suicide. The welfare minister Bang Neung-hoo said reducing the suicide rate is one of the most pressing matters that should be addressed to enhance the quality of life for all in the nation. Park Ji-won, Arirang News.
The U.S. government plans to slap tariffs on Samsung and LG washing machines as well as foreign solar panels sold in the States. Kim Ji-yeon explains how the latest decision made in tune with Trump's America First policies could put Korean manufacturers at a severe disadvantage.
The U.S. Trade Representative's office announced a list of safeguard measures that the U.S. plans to impose on imports of Samsung and LG-made washing machines and solar panels. U.S. Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer said Tuesday that U.S. President Donald Trump has made his final decision on the issue, adding that President Trump's decision clearly reflects his willingness to defend American workers and businesses. With the latest announcement, a 20% tariff will be applied on imports of washing machines under 1.2 million units and a 50% tariff on imports exceeding the quota in the first year, with tariffs falling by 2% and 5% per year respectively for the following 2 years. On imports of products in the solar industry, the tariff rate will be set at 30% and will be reduced to a 15% tariff rate over the next 4 years, with the first 2.5 gigawatts being exempt from the tariff. The new safeguard measures, which come 16 years after the U.S. imposed tariffs on imported steel products in 2002, are expected to deal a big blow to Korea's manufacturing firms. Samsung and LG, two of Korea's major electronics manufacturers, have been exporting a combined $1 billion a year of large residential washing machines to the U.S., with Samsung holding 16% and LG 13% of the U.S. washing machine market share. Kim Ji-yeon, Arirang News.
Following that announcement, South Korea's trade ministry vowed to file a petition to the World Trade Organization over Washington's safeguard measures. Kim Bo-kyun gets us up to speed with the developments.
Korea's trade ministry announced that it will work to defend Korea's interests by claiming its rights guaranteed under the World Trade Organization agreement. In a meeting with industry officials on Tuesday, Trade Minister Kim Hyun-jong said that the ministry plans to file a petition with the WTO against Washington's latest so-called safeguard, which he called excessive and a violation of WTO provisions. Kim said the safeguard appears to consider only Washington's own political situation and not international regulations. The minister expressed confidence that Korea can win the case, pointing to past cases it won against the U.S. regarding steel safeguards in 2002 and anti-dumping duties on washing machines in 2013 and 2014. He said the ministry plans to proceed with a petition by forming a united front with other countries affected by Washington's protectionist trade practices. But an expert on trade says things might not be that simple.
The U.S. has lost a case on safeguards before, so I hear that they have prepared a thorough defense. So even if we file the petition, we cannot be 100% sure of winning.
There are also concerns that the safeguards won't stop with washing machines and solar cells and modules.
I think the impact can be spread over to other sectors. Likewise, some of the topics that we are under negotiation for FTA, such as automobile and intellectual properties. We have to take extreme attention in what sector their real intentions are.
Experts say that in addition to the government's petition, it's also important to bring the issue up in negotiations and create an opportunity to communicate with U.S. authorities. Kim Bo-kyun, Arirang News.
Turning now to ongoing government efforts to regulate the local virtual currency market, the latest measures to be implemented in a week's time. New accounts can only be created using real names. Traders can no longer make transactions anonymously. Our Lee Jung-yeon turned to an expert for his take on the potential impact of this system.
After explosive growth in the number of cryptocurrency traders in South Korea, the government announced back in December that it would ban the creation of new anonymous accounts in an effort to curb the trading frenzy. On Tuesday, it announced that virtual currency traders can create new accounts under their real names starting January 30th. Prior to these measures, currency exchanges issued encrypted virtual accounts to investors for trading. But the new measures will only allow real-name bank accounts with matching accounts at virtual currency exchanges for transactions. What this means is that now transactions are no longer anonymous. This could help prevent illegal activities such as money laundering or tax evasion. Also, with the banks requiring personal information, foreigners and minors could be prevented from setting up accounts. Experts say the new measures may not bring significant changes, at least in the short term.
I don't think there's going to be a noticeable difference, but it's going to be very difficult to see anyway, because, well, cryptocurrency right now is such a volatile investment that you'll continually see very large fluctuations in prices.
He adds, however, that the real name system is a good stepping stone for other changes that could eventually reduce market volatility.
The real name system, I think, is a first step to imposing taxes. I believe that it's probably useful to have taxes on cryptocurrency investments because, well, right now, at least in Korea, taxes are not being imposed on these cryptocurrency transactions. And because of that, I think it makes cryptocurrency investments more popular than it should be.
Were this to happen, it would mean virtual currency trading would become similar to trading of commodities such as stocks and bonds. Lee Jung-hyun, Arirang News.
The European Union has removed Korea from its blacklist of tax havens. Seoul's finance ministry said on Tuesday that 8 countries, including Korea, have been removed from the list of non-cooperative jurisdiction for tax purposes, easing concerns of punitive economic measures and reputational damage. The other 7 countries are Panama, Mongolia, Barbados, Macau, Tunisia, Grenada, and the United Arab Emirates. Back in December, EU finance ministers put 17 countries on their blacklist, calling the taxation systems in those countries unfair and discriminative. Golf, archery, figure skating, some of the sporting disciplines Korea displayed dominance in the global stage. Perhaps tennis could be added to that list soon. Chung Hyeon defeated his idol, former world #1 Novak Djokovic, to advance to the quarterfinals to the Australian Open. Park So-yeon has more on the first ever Korean tennis player to make the Elite 8 of a Grand Slam event.
South Korea's Chung Hyeon, ranked 58th in the world, played a superb match, cruising to victory over former world #1 Novak Djokovic in a stunning 7-6, 7-5, 7-6 win at the Australian Open. The 21-year-old always looked in command of the match and held his nerve in the third set to win the tiebreaker and seal his spot in the final 8. His latest victory proved his win over world #4 Alexander Zverev in the previous round was no fluke. Monday's win marks a remarkable change of fortunes for the two players. Just 2 years ago, Chung lost to Djokovic in straight sets at the 2016 Australian Open. Djokovic complimented Chung for his great performance, saying he deserved to win. And Chung could barely contain his joy after beating the man he looked up to as a boy. On Wednesday, Chung will face American tennis Sandgren, ranked 97th in the world and another surprise quarterfinalist. Koreans around the world will be tuning in, hoping Chung can keep his historic run going in Melbourne and make it to the semis. Park So-yeon, Arirang News.
Elsewhere around the world, a tsunami warning has been issued across the west coast of the United States, Canada, and Hawaii after a 7.9 magnitude quake hit the southern coast of Alaska. According to the U.S. Geological Survey, the quake struck early Tuesday local time around 300 kilometers southeast of Alaska's Kodiak Island. Residents of the island were urged to stay away from the coast to avoid damage from possible aftershocks. The NWS Pacific Tsunami Warning Center said widespread hazardous tsunami waves were possible. Meanwhile, volcanic activity in the Philippines prompted nearly 56,000 people to evacuate from the province of Albay in the southeast of the country's biggest island of Luzon. Officials say Mount Mayon has been spewing ash more than 3 kilometers into the air, along with fountains of lava 700 meters high. The alert level there was raised to 4 on a scale of 5. Damage from a volcanic eruption was reported Tuesday in Japan as well at Mount Kusatsu Shirane in Gunma Prefecture. The eruption sparked a huge avalanche that left at least 1 person dead and more than 15 injured. Time to turn to Michelle back at the Weather Center for the updates we'll need. Michelle, we got a sharp, stinging wind blowing, and tomorrow it's expected to get even worse.
Well, Daniel, if you have your hands out, it will hurt. That's how cold it is. Now, the wind chill is nearly minus 20 degrees Celsius right now, and by tomorrow, the temperature is expected to fall even further, intensifying the cold wave alerts, so make sure to dress warmer than today. A heavy snow advisory is expected to be issued over on the west coast tonight, bringing up to 7 centimeters, but the interior regions will see less. Tomorrow morning will be 2 to 3 degrees colder than today, Seoul dipping low to minus 17 degrees Celsius, Daegu and Busan at minus 12 and minus 10 degrees. Into the afternoon, Seoul won't rise very high, only to minus 10 degrees, while Gwangju and Busan are looking a little better at minus 4 and minus 2 degrees. Find a way to stay warm this whole week because the cold wave will stay with us for a little while. By Sunday, we can finally get to see a little more comfortable temperatures. I'll leave you with the weather conditions around the world.
That's it for tonight's edition of Arirang News Center. As always, thank you for watching.